I think if this week's episode of Compulsive Gambler should tell people anything, it's to stay away from the crazy. I mean, that sounds like common sense, but you see some of the fetishes people have about characters like these, and this just shows you, like, you don't actually want to be around someone like this. This is absolutely insane. I actually was kind of interested with this episode for the most part because we get to see backstory, just a psychotic character that I thought they were just going to leave as psychotic and that was that, but we get to see exactly what the student council put this insane suicidal girl in, and she literally had like a 300 million yen debt or something like that, and the president of the student council says, "I'm gonna buy your eye." Like, I'm not surprised that this happened, as this is just an insane anime. But what's even more insane is she doesn't even wait for the surgery, she just sticks a pen in her eye and gouges it out. Maybe I'm just like too sane to not understand like what had to be going through that girl's head. But that's insane. Like, I mean, it was entertaining, but it was a little squeamish. Like, I mean, they didn't hold back on the animation. There was a lot of gruesome stuff happening while she was gouging her eye out, and just like, I don't know, like, this is just PSA, stay away from crazy, that's all I'm saying. But once we got around, like, the more crazy stuff and we got back into the gambling match, I thought it was actually pretty interesting because my assumption was they were going to do something like, you know, the male character there was essentially going to develop something on the fly that our main character would be able to essentially figure out what's going on. Like, Yumiko would clue in, like, oh, this is what he's creating, so I know how to play my cards. But what they actually did was pretty interesting because with the second round, essentially, he just relays the same cards that Yumiko did originally, which is actually pretty smart because she kind of clued into it, with the third round being they just forfeited so no one could get killed, which was actually pretty logical, and I actually liked how they overcame it. Also, just her kind of like calling out how she was mirroring basically his image and things like that. But I actually pretty enjoyed like the entire gambling match. Like, it wasn't that entertaining in the sense of like it was very complex or deep or anything like that. But I find that the Compulsive Gambler, it makes these gambling matches very entertaining because it's really just going into the psyche and just the mentality of the players themselves and just exploiting their craziness pretty much. And like, I would even say like the gambling matches are entertaining by themselves, but what I think really makes this show stand out is the characters playing these games and how it just manipulates, and it just makes it far more entertaining than if it was just some pretty normal people playing one of these individual games. And I think that's why I enjoy this series so much. I really feel like it would be very hard for there not to be an episode that I didn't enjoy more than I disliked, kind of a thing. And that's just due to the fact that the characters themselves are insane, and that makes them entertaining, especially when you put them in to a situation like this, which is suicidal gambling pretty much. But what I really liked with this episode is actually the end content where Yumiko calls out this girl and says like, this is what gambling is about, and she just goes psychotic and just is like, I don't know what that wetness was, if it was all saliva or if it was something else there, if she was getting a little horny. I mean, she was talking about coming from this entire match, so we can assume what that was. But I mean, there was definitely, this was probably the most perverted episode with gruesome pervertedness and then also just sexual pervertedness. Like, this series is just something else. It's really weird, to say the least. But I appreciate that the insanity and just the gambling matches still takes the forefront while they just have this other side to it as an added layer for those who want it, but it also just kind of helps amplify the craziness of the individual characters. But I have to say, if anything, the facial expressions had to take a different level this week. Like, we've always seen some crazy faces in Compulsive Gambler, but they really went above and beyond with some of these characters this week. I don't know. This series is just wild, it's wacky, it's insane, and I enjoy it. Really, at the end of the day, as long as they keep using these gambling matches as a way to amplify and just show how crazy these characters are, I'm going to always enjoy this series. It's not really about the gambling matches being the most unique or the most creative thing ever. I do think they do creative things with it and how they use the cheating mechanics to make it even more insane. But I think at the end of the day, what really makes this show work is the characters playing these games, and if we only had just boring normal characters playing these games, it probably wouldn't be that entertaining. But as long as we have Yumiko, as long as we have someone from the student body playing these games, I think it's always going to be entertaining because there's always something crazy or manipulative or just exploitive that's always happening, and it always has me interested. Overall, this show is just fun. It's insane. The voice acting with the animation just goes so extreme to the point it's almost like a parody of itself, but it just works because it just makes everything that much more fun. I'm having a blast with this show, and I can't wait to see what they're gonna do next week, and just, where are we going with this show ultimately? I have no idea, but I'm having fun. But let me know your thoughts. What did you think of this very sick, twisted, and perverted episode? Was it too much for you, or was it just enough for whatever taste you may have? Let me know your thoughts, and before you leave, smack that like button to show your support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.